What, of course, we got to talk about is LIV this week.
Yes.
And the question I have is that the viewership numbers, because they're so public, YouTube and stuff like that, does this spell disaster for LIV? Because there's no doubt in my mind that there's got to be some scrambling happening this morning amongst the higher ups running this league of being like, come on now. Now, they may also, there's been a lot of money committed to this, and they may also be like, look, this is just part of our long term. And we're going to talk in a second about what some of their the business plans are, because that was also revealed this week for LIV. Mm-hmm. But you look at this and you think, on paper, here's two things. This is the finale, right? The season finale. It should be the most watched event for that reason.
Right.
But it's the team event.
Yep.
It is the difference. The difference that was shouted from the rooftops from the PGA Tour, the excitement. Why LIV is so different. It's the team element.
Event, which they're putting all their money behind.
That's the team, right? This is not just the PGA Tour 2.0. This is totally different. This is the team. So this was your first really big team event, and the headline grabber. It was a $50 million purse. So now you got to be thinking, you're LIV. You laid out $50 million for this event, not to mention all the money you paid these guys just to come over to LIV.
Right.
And you do all that for 300,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's 300,000 total cumulative views over the entire 5-hour live stream. There were people who were watching and checking in, and there was at times, there was 50,000 people watching.
Yeah.
A lot of those numbers didn't happen until the final couple of holes. People tuned in just to see who was going to win.
Final holes.
Just to see the final
now,
holes.
There was pushback on, like, they could be watching it on the website. They could be watching it on Facebook. But
let's be real.
Yeah, who's watching?
How many people are really watching? Because the website is tough to watch on. The way the structure is, they don't have like a thing where you can beam it up to your smart TV or whatever. I think most people, if you want to watch, like you watch golf on TV, you're going to use some sort of smart device, and YouTube, it's the easiest way to watch it. Maybe some people, but let's give them that. Let's say 100,000 more people watched it on the website, which anybody who's watched it on the website knows it's not the best viewer experience.
Correct.
It's like this little player on the website.
Yeah.
So anybody who's bearing that, 100,000, maybe another 100,000 watched it on Facebook. Because a lot of people don't watch long form on Facebook.
They don't.
YouTube is usually the place for that type of
course.
thing. If you're not watching broadcast television. So if we had those together, that gives you 500,000 people. 500,000 people. Now imagine
football was the big competitor.
It was. And that's what I want to talk about, the difference in the season.
Because football's on TV. So what are you going to do? Sit there on your phone and watch LIV?
Right.
No.
But can you imagine you laid out $50 million to get that many views? I made a joke the other day. That literally means that more people are now watching Fat Perez than Pat Perez.
Exactly.
Right? Because you go to Bob Does Sports and some of the big YouTubers right now, they're pulling 700, 800,000 views per video. So you're going and watching Fat Perez play a match against Bobby and Cold Cuts.
Right.
And you're getting 700,000 people watching it.
Yeah,
and then you've got LIV with Bryson and
best players in the world.
Some of them, right?
I'll be honest.
Some of them, right? Well, you had the number one player in the world briefly, Cameron Smith.
Yep.
Go over there for 300,000 views. Is this a major disaster for LIV? Like, you guys weigh in the comments and tell us. But is this a disaster, or is it just a bump in the road of the long term?
My thing about LIV, though, is put all the politics and everything, your feelings aside. LIV itself, I believe, is a good product. So imagine if on Sunday morning you woke up and you put on Sunday afternoon, and at 11 o'clock you put on Channel 2, CBS, and kicked off was the LIV. Obviously, they're not going to be on CBS, but imagine it was. Wouldn't you tune in? It's easy for you. It's on TV.
So that's my question. Is it
on the background?
Is it that it's just not easy and that's why people aren't doing it?
I think that might have a problem with it. Because what are you going to do? Be on YouTube? You got the family over? Where are you going to go? In the bathroom with the computer? If they're watching football on the big screen, where are you going to watch this? But if you're flipping back and forth on the TV between LIV and like we used to do on US Open, whatever big golf events, we go from a football game to a...
Yes, I think football was a big part of that problem. But it makes me wonder, though, because for me personally, and I know there's going to be different viewing preferences and generational stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have Apple TV, right? I watch everything through Apple TV. Mm-hmm. So it is very simple for me to switch between YouTube and the football game because I just go to my Comcast streaming app for my quote unquote cable.
Right.
And then I'll flip over to YouTube. I watch YouTube on my big screen. So it's a similar viewing experience for me.
All right. Now,
I don't know if others have that.
Picture your father trying to do that.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Generationally, my father is never going to...
He's never going to tune in to LIV. Because where would he watch it?
The most he would do is like he likes to watch some stuff on his iPad, and I just got him starting to watch some YouTube.
Okay, so you're getting him into YouTube.
So if I told him it's on YouTube, so that's my question then. Does that mean that LIV's viewership problem really comes down to a product problem, the product they're putting out, or a broadcast problem? If they were on traditional broadcast, same as PGA Tour, would they get the viewership, or is there a bigger underlying problem? Because to me, I just worry that there might be an underlying problem when your biggest event, you're not getting enough interest.
But it's still buried. It's on YouTube. Like, we're not used to it. Like, we're watching football on TV on the couch with the family. Not everyone. I don't have an like. It's just like it's not. I didn't.
That's a solid point. I agree.
I just think
it's not as easy to.
It's not as easy to access.
But the reason I keep wondering is because I'm thinking like, if it drew enough attention and there was enough curiosity, people would find a way to watch it. You can still, I mean, the truth is, although like a lot of people have cable still and they watch that way, what is the stat? Like 90% of Americans have a smartphone,
right?
So and Android phones come preloaded with YouTube. So it's not like YouTube is hard to find. It's not like it's just on the website.
True.
So what I mean is like if they had built up enough curiosity about LIV and enough people cared, they could find it.
Mm-hmm.
So the concern I have is, does this mean that not enough people truly care? If that's all the viewership you could pull, and then more so, does this mean that their business model is not sustainable?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think, kind of talking to that point, I think it is a little bit of both, the product and the broadcast. I think that product-wise, they should have went all in on the team event. Or like every event should have been a team event and not even tried to play like going against the PGA Tour as for like the individual. I think it would have been way more fun if every event was purely a team-based event.
Team.
Yeah, and especially if they're going for the franchising in the future, I think that's
because we like team golf as golf fans. We love the Ryder Cup. We love President Cup.
Right, but that's
like
what I'm saying.
Like
if for this being that final culmination, the big team event, the big matchups, and all that type of stuff that we were looking for, and now it's like you're putting whatever some of the matchups were, like it's Cam Smith and Dustin Johnson or whatever it was. Those are headline acts, and that yet nobody really tuned into it.
I also feel like they kind of, like, I don't know the term, shot themselves in the foot here by not doing more team-based events throughout the season and then just springing a team event towards the end.
Right.
I think if they had more team events, there would be more. What if it was
in their defense though? It was a short season.
Well, I was gonna say, what if it was moved up? Like, I'm thinking, like,
that's what I'm kind of driving.
Does anyone care right now? We're in football.
That's what I'm wondering.
What if it was before the FedEx Cup?
There is that. We're going to talk about this a little bit later.
Yeah, if they went January to August,
they're going February to September.
That's the thing. So now
that's their next.
Whereas early, I thought, oh well, this is a brilliant move. Don't go head to head against the PGA Tour. Make your events on either alternate weeks or alternate event weeks or after the FedEx Cup, which they did. Mm-hmm. But what they made the big mistake of doing is what you keep saying. What PGA Tour has been pretty smart to do is don't put any premier events once football season is going.
Done. Yeah.
Right? Because at least in America, you're going to really compete.
Right.
Right? And they went head to head against football and lost.
They did.
To a large extent.
And the President's Cup went head to head against football, and they did pretty well. I think a lot of people tuned into the President's Cup.
I don't know what the viewership was of the President's Cup.
I don't know, but it was better than LIV.
Right. It was better than... Well, the average PGA Tour event pulls about 700 to 800,000 viewership on the average event.
On the average.
But this, again, was their big event, their $50 million headlined event. But we even put a poll out just earlier on the community page. We said, will you be watching this week's LIV Golf team event? And 56% as of when we get a screen grab of this poll said no. So there's a lot of people who are, it's not just a matter of not being able to find it. There's just a lot of people who are choosing not to necessarily watch it. And I don't know why that is.
I know.
I mean,
that's just it.
I have an idea of why it is because there are the political ramifications. But when I say I don't know, I mean on a broad scale, like what is it that it's everyone making an actual decision, or is it that it's hard to view because of where it lives? I don't know. But the fact is, it just remains the writing's on the wall. You can kind of spin it however you want, but the reality is a major event, $50 million, the big event to end your season, and you get 300,000 views.
Well, they got to do something about that because you saw the number of how much they spent this year.
I can only imagine.
$784 million. And
what they do? They budgeted $2 million. The Saudi put it $2 billion away for 3 years, I think, to run this thing.
So it says LIV's first year expenditure, according to the source, is pegged at $784 million all in. Another $1 billion is committed for next year as the schedule will increase to 14.
And I think if back of the napkin math, can we say that they've probably made back almost next to nothing?
Probably
because there's no event sponsors. It's all sponsored by LIV. They do have merchandise, but that's been slow to roll out because people are just getting used to like who the teams are, and there's no diehards going to buy that stuff just yet. It's slowly rolling in. But I'm even thinking about this. I mean, we know YouTube from our own thing and stuff like that. 300,000 views. I mean, YouTube, even if it's
paying that much,
right? I mean, maybe if they made a couple $1,000, right? But so they're almost making nothing back yet,
right?
So I don't know. Again, you guys weigh in the comments. Do you think that this spells disaster for LIV when you look at that low viewership for their biggest and most expensive event of the season, or is this just a bump in the road? And more specifically, for you individually, did you choose to watch it or not, and why? Because this is something that's going to be unveiling and unraveling itself as it goes, and it's very much a learning process. And LIV is not going away; they're committed. Like I said, $2 billion. There's going to be some more time. Is this a short blip in the story of LIV, or is this the indicator that something's under the surface, something's a problem, and this is just not going to make it? That's what we want to hear.